The church bells tolled, but they didn't call her home anymore. Elena stood at the edge of Willow Creek, her boots sinking into the cracked, dry earth, the weight of exile heavier than the pack slung over her shoulder. She was 28, and the town she'd loved her whole life had just spat her out like a bitter seed. 3 years ago, Willow Creek, a dusty speck in rural Nevada, had been her sanctuary. She'd grown up climbing its cottonwood trees, racing bikes down Main Street, and dreaming under stars so bright they felt like promises. But when she'd kissed Clara in the glow of a harvest moon, whispered confessions of love in the back of her pickup truck, the town turned on her. "We don't want your kind here," Pastor Evans had said, his voice cold as the pews where she'd once prayed. Her family didn't fight for her. Her mother cried, her father looked away, and the community she trusted branded her an outcast. By morning Elena was gone, her heart bruised but unbroken, her only keepsake a worn map her grandfather had left her. A cryptic sketch of the desert's hidden springs. Now she was back. Not by choice but by necessity. The town was dying. The riverbed that once fed Willow Creek's fields had dried to dust. The wells were empty, and desperation clung to the air like heat. Elena had heard the whispers from travelers at a gas station 50 miles out. Willow Creek was on its knees, and no one knew why the water was gone. But Elena did. Her grandfather's map, tucked in her jacket, held secrets the town had forgotten, secrets she'd sworn to protect, even after they'd banished her. She adjusted her pack, her chestnut hair catching the fading light, and started down the hill. The town hadn't changed much. The diner still had its flickering neon sign. The hardware store still sagged under years of neglect, and the church steeple loomed like a judge. But the fields were brown, the air thick with dust, and the faces she passed were gaunt, hollowed by fear. She felt their stares sharp as thorns, but she kept walking. She wasn't here for forgiveness. She was here for Clara. Clara, 30, with her short black hair and eyes that could hold a storm, had been Elena's everything. They'd met at the town fair 5 years ago. Clara's laugh bright as the Ferris wheel lights, her flannel shirt brushing Elena's arm as they shared cotton candy. Their love had grown in stolen moments, late-night drives, whispers by the river, hands entwined under blankets. But when the town found out, Clara stayed silent. She didn't leave with Elena. She didn't fight. And that silence had carved a wound deeper than the town's rejection. Elena stopped at the edge of Main Street, her heart pounding. She didn't know if Clara still lived here, if she'd married, moved on, or forgotten her. But the map in her pocket wasn't just a guide to water. It was a promise she'd made to Clara years ago, under that same harvest moon. "I'll always come back for you." She didn't know if Clara would want her now, but she'd find out. And if the town wanted water, they'd have to face the woman they'd thrown away. The diner's bell jingled as she pushed open the door. Heads turned, conversations died. Old man Carter, who'd once taught her how to fish, looked down at his coffee. Mrs. Lyle, her high school English teacher, froze mid-bite. Elena's jaw tightened, but she scanned the room, searching for one face. And there, behind the counter, pouring coffee with steady hands, was Clara. Her hair was shorter, her frame leaner, but those brown eyes were unmistakable. They locked onto Elena's, and for a moment the world stopped. Clara's lips parted, a flicker of shock, then something softer, regret maybe, or hope. Elena's heart lurched, but she didn't move. Not yet. She'd come to save a town that hated her. But first, she needed to know if the woman she loved still believed in her. "Elena." Clara's voice was barely a whisper, but it carried the weight of 3 lost years. "Yeah," Elena said, her voice steady despite the storm inside. "I'm back." The diner was silent, every eye on them. Elena felt the map burning a hole in her pocket. She didn't know if it would lead to water or redemption, but she knew one thing. She wasn't leaving without Clara this time. Clara set the coffee pot down, her hands trembling. She stepped out from behind the counter, her flannel shirt untucked, her eyes searching Elena's face like she was trying to memorize it all over again. "Why now?" she asked, her voice breaking. Elena took a step closer, close enough to smell the faint cedar of Clara's shampoo, the same scent that had haunted her dreams. "Because they need me," she said. "And because I need you." The words hung between them, fragile as glass. Clara's eyes glistened, but she didn't look away. The town had torn them apart once, but Elena wasn't the scared girl she'd been. She was here to fight, for water, for love, for a future they'd been denied. And she'd be damned if she let Willow Creek take anything else from her. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of fire. Elena sat on the hood of her old pickup, parked just outside town, the map spread out before her. Clara had agreed to meet her here, away from prying eyes, but the wait was agony. Every rustle in the sagebrush made Elena's heart jump, every shadow a reminder of the town's judgment. Clara arrived on foot, her boots crunching on the gravel. She looked smaller in the twilight, her shoulders hunched like she carried the weight of the town's expectations. "I didn't think you'd come back," she said, stopping a few feet away. "I didn't want to," Elena admitted. "But I couldn't let you go." Clara's breath hitched. "You don't know what it's been like here, Elena. After you left they watched me. Every move. My parents, the church, everyone. I couldn't leave. I wasn't strong enough." Elena slid off the hood, closing the distance between them. "You don't have to be strong alone anymore," she said. "I'm here now. And I've got something they need." She held up the map, its edges worn from years of handling. Her grandfather, a geologist who'd loved the desert more than the town, had mapped every spring, every aquifer, every hidden vein of water in the region. He'd taught Elena to read the land, to see its secrets in the curve of a hill or the slant of a rock. The map was his legacy, and it pointed to a spring deep in the desert, a spring Willow Creek didn't know existed. "They kicked me out for loving you," Elena said, her voice low but fierce. "But they're dying without water, and I'm the only one who can save them. You think I'm gonna let them forget that?" Clara's eyes widened. "You're going to make them beg?" "No," Elena said, a wry smile tugging at her lips. "I'm going to make them listen." Clara stepped closer, her hand brushing Elena's. The touch was electric, a spark that hadn't dimmed in 3 years. "I'm sorry I didn't go with you," Clara whispered. "I was scared." "I know," Elena said, her voice softening. "But I'm not letting you stay scared forever." They stood there, hands entwined, the desert stretching out around them. The map fluttered in the breeze, a promise of salvation for a town that didn't deserve it, and a chance to rebuild what had been broken. Elena didn't know if Willow Creek would accept her, but she knew she'd fight for Clara. And maybe, just maybe, the town would learn that love was stronger than their hate. The desert night was cold, but Elena's resolve burned hotter than the noon sun. She and Clara sat by a small fire, the map spread between them, its lines illuminated by flickering flames. Clara traced a finger along the inked ridges, her brow furrowed. "You're sure this spring is real?" she asked, her voice a mix of hope and doubt. "My grandfather never lied about the land," Elena said, her green eyes fixed on the map. "He said the desert keeps its secrets close, but it rewards those who listen. This spring it's out there, Clara. I can feel it." Clara nodded, but her eyes drifted to the horizon, where Willow Creek's lights glowed faintly. "They won't make it easy," she said. "The town council's already talking about drilling new wells, bringing in outsiders. They don't trust you." Elena's jaw tightened. "They don't have to trust me. They just have to follow me." The next morning Elena walked into the town hall, the map tucked under her arm. The room was packed. Farmers, shopkeepers, families, all whispering as she entered. Mayor Thompson, a wiry man with a permanent scowl, stood at the front, his arms crossed. "What's this about, Elena?" he demanded. "You've got no business here." "I've got the only business that matters," Elena shot back, holding up the map. "You're out of water. I know where to find it." The room erupted in murmurs. Some scoffed, others leaned forward, desperate for hope. Pastor Evans stood, his voice booming. "Why should we trust you? You left this town in disgrace." Elena's heart pounded, but she didn't flinch. "You didn't leave me much choice, Pastor. But I'm not here for your approval. I'm here because you're dying, and I'm the only one with a way out." She unrolled the map on the table, its faded lines a stark contrast to the council's useless charts. "My grandfather mapped a spring 10 miles west, hidden in the Blackrock Canyon. It's deep, untouched. It could save Willow Creek." Mayor Thompson squinted at the map, skeptical. "And you expect us to just follow you? After everything?" "I expect you to want to survive," Elena said, her voice steady. "You can ignore me, drill your wells, pray for rain. But you know it's not coming. I'm your best shot." The room fell silent. Clara, standing in the back, gave Elena a small nod, her eyes fierce with pride. It was enough to keep Elena steady. After heated debate, the council agreed, reluctantly, to let her lead an expedition. They'd give her 3 days to prove the spring existed. If she failed, they'd move forward with their own plans. As the crowd dispersed, Clara caught Elena's arm. "You're really doing this," she said, her voice soft but urgent. "You're putting yourself in their hands again." "Not their hands," Elena said, her gaze locked on Clara's. "Yours. I'm doing this for you." Clara's breath caught, and for a moment they were alone in the world. "I'm coming with you," she said finally. "I won't let you face this alone." The next dawn, Elena and Clara set out with a small team, 2 farmers, a mechanic named Tom, and a grudging council member, Sarah, who clearly didn't trust Elena. The desert was unforgiving, the sun relentless, and the weight of the town's doubt pressed down on them. Elena led the way, her grandfather's map etched into her memory. She read the land like a book, noting the slant of rocks, the curve of dunes, the subtle signs her grandfather had taught her. By midday they reached Blackrock Canyon, a narrow gash in the earth where shadows clung to the walls. The team was tired, skeptical, but Elena pressed on, her boots steady on the uneven ground. Clara stayed close, her presence a quiet strength. "You okay?" Clara asked, brushing a strand of hair from Elena's face. "Better now," Elena said, managing a smile. "You always did make the hard stuff easier." Clara's cheeks flushed, but before she could reply, Tom called out, "This is a waste of time. There's nothing here but rocks." Elena ignored him, her eyes scanning the canyon floor. She knelt, brushing away sand, and found it. A faint dampness, a whisper of moisture. "Here," she said, her voice firm. "Dig here." The team hesitated, but Clara grabbed a shovel and started digging. Elena joined her, and soon the others followed. The earth was stubborn, but after an hour water seeped up, dark and cool, pooling in the hole. The team gasped, their skepticism dissolving in the face of hope. "It's real," Sarah whispered, her eyes wide. "You were right." Elena didn't smile. She looked at Clara, who was grinning, dirt smudged on her cheek. "Told you," Clara said, her voice warm. But the victory was short-lived. As they prepared to mark the site, a low rumble echoed through the canyon. Rocks slid from the walls and the ground trembled. "Earthquake!" Tom shouted, and the team scrambled for cover. When the shaking stopped, the spring was gone, buried under a collapse of rock. Elena's heart sank, but she didn't falter. "It's still there," she said, her voice fierce. "We just have to find another way." Clara grabbed her hand, squeezing tight. "We will," she said. "Together." The team returned to Willow Creek, battered but hopeful. The spring was real, but reaching it would take more than shovels. It would take engineering, resources, and trust the town wasn't ready to give. Elena knew the fight was far from over, but with Clara by her side, she felt unstoppable. The desert had tested them, but their love was stronger than stone. Back in Willow Creek, the news of the spring spread like wildfire, but so did doubt. Elena stood before the town council again, her map now marked with the canyon's coordinates, her hands steady despite the hostile eyes. "The spring is there," she said. "The collapse buried it, but I can get to it. We need equipment, pumps, drills, a crew." Mayor Thompson leaned back, his fingers drumming on the table. "You're asking for a lot, Elena. Resources we don't have. And for what? A puddle in a canyon." "It's not a puddle," Elena snapped. "It's enough to save this town. You saw the water." "Sarah saw it. Ask her." Sarah, the council member who'd been with them, shifted uncomfortably. "It was there," she admitted. "But it's buried now. How do we know you can find it again?" "Because I know this land," Elena said, her voice ringing with conviction. "My grandfather taught me its secrets. You've got no other options." The room buzzed with tension. Pastor Evans stood, his face red. "This is about more than water," he said. "You're asking us to trust someone who defied our values, who—" "Enough," Clara cut in, stepping forward. Her voice was quiet but sharp, slicing through the noise. "Elena's the only one who's given us hope. You can keep your grudges, but they won't fill your wells." The room fell silent. Elena's heart swelled. Clara, who'd stayed silent 3 years ago, was fighting for her now. The council voted, narrowly, to give Elena the resources. But the terms were clear. 1 week to deliver, or they'd cut her off. Outside, under the stars, Elena and Clara sat on the tailgate of Elena's truck, the desert air cool against their skin. You didn't have to do that, Elena said, her voice soft. Stand up to them. I did, Clara said, her eyes fierce. I should have done it years ago. I won't lose you again. Elena reached for her hand, their fingers intertwining. You won't, she said. But this isn't just about us. If I fail, the town dies. Then we won't fail, Clara said, her voice steady. What's the plan? Elena pulled out the map, pointing to a series of ridges near the canyon. The springs fed by an underground aquifer. The collapse blocked the surface flow, but I think there's another access point here, higher up. It's riskier, narrower paths, unstable ground. But it's our best shot. Clara nodded, her jaw set. I'm with you. Whatever it takes. The next day, Elena led a larger team back to Black Rock Canyon. This time with drills, pumps, and a crew of skeptical but desperate volunteers. Clara worked beside her, organizing supplies, keeping morale up. The work was grueling, hours of hauling equipment, navigating treacherous paths, and battling the desert's heat. Elena's knowledge guided them, her grandfather's lessons echoing in her mind. The land speaks if you listen. She read the rocks, the soil, the faint signs of water beneath the surface. By the third day they found it. A narrow crevice where water seeped through, too small to sustain the town but proof they were close. Elena's heart raced as she marked the spot, her hand steady despite the exhaustion. We're almost there, she told the crew. One more push. But not everyone believed. Tom, the mechanic, grew restless, muttering about wasted time. We're chasing ghosts, he said, loud enough for the crew to hear. She's leading us nowhere. Clara stepped in, her voice calm but firm. You saw the water, Tom. You felt it. Elena knows what she's doing. Tom scoffed but backed down, and the crew pressed on. That night, as they camped in the canyon, Elena and Clara sat apart from the others, sharing a blanket under the stars. They're scared, Clara said. They want to believe, but they're scared. So was I, Elena admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. When they kicked me out, I thought I'd never come back. But you were worth coming back for. Clara's eyes glistened and she leaned in, their foreheads touching. I love you, she whispered, the words a balm to years of pain. I always did. Elena kissed her, soft and slow, the desert quiet around them. It was a promise, a vow that no town, no collapse, no fear could break. They fell asleep wrapped in each other, the map between them, its secrets, their shared hope. By the 5th day they hit a breakthrough. The drills broke through a layer of rock and water, clear, cold, endless, gushed up, soaking the crew in a chorus of cheers. Elena laughed, tears mixing with the spray, and Clara pulled her into a hug, their joy a defiance of the town's cruelty. They'd done it. The spring was theirs. But as they prepared to pipe the water back to Willow Creek, a new challenge loomed. The town's leaders, grateful but still wary, demanded control of the spring. You've done your part, Mayor Thompson said over the radio. We'll take it from here. Elena's blood ran cold. She'd saved them, but they still didn't trust her. She looked at Clara, her heart heavy. They're not taking this from me, she said. Not again. Clara's eyes burned with determination. Then we fight, she said. For the water. For us. The spring's water flowed like a miracle. But Elena knew miracles didn't change hearts. Back in Willow Creek, the town buzzed with relief. Fields would green again. Wells would fill, life would return. But the council's demand to take control of the spring felt like a slap. Elena had given them hope, risked everything, and still they saw her as an outsider. She stood in the town hall, facing the council once more, Clara by her side. The room was less hostile now, but the air was thick with unspoken tension. You've got your water, Elena said, her voice steady. But this spring isn't yours to take. My grandfather's map led us there. I led us there. If you want it, you work with me. Mayor Thompson's face reddened. You're in no position to make demands, he said. We funded the equipment. We own the rights. You own nothing, Elena shot back. You banished me, remember? You don't get to claim my family's legacy now. The room erupted in shouts, some for Elena, some against. Clara stepped forward, her presence calming the chaos. Elena saved this town, she said, her voice clear. You can't erase that. You can't erase her. Pastor Evans rose, his eyes narrowing. This isn't about water anymore, is it? You two think you can come in here, flaunt your lifestyle, and force us to accept it. Elena's heart pounded, but Clara's hand found hers, grounding her. We're not asking for your acceptance, Clara said. We're asking for respect. Elena gave you a future. You owe her that much. The debate raged for hours, but a compromise emerged. Elena would oversee the spring's operations, but the town would share the water. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. As they left the hall, Elena felt the weight of the fight, but Clara's hand in hers made it bearable. The next weeks were a blur of work. Elena and Clara coordinated the pipeline, directing crews to channel the spring's water to Willow Creek's reservoirs. The town began to heal. Fields sprouted green, children played in sprinklers, and the diner's coffee tasted better with hope in the air. But not everyone was ready to move on. Whispers followed Elena and Clara. Stares, muttered slurs, a coldness that lingered like dust. One evening, as they worked late at the spring, a group of men approached, led by Tom, the mechanic who doubted Elena from the start. You think you're heroes? He spat. This town doesn't need people like you. Elena stepped forward, her fists clenched. This town would be dead without me, she said. You don't like it? Leave. Tom lunged, but Clara was faster, shoving him back. Enough, she shouted. You don't get to hurt her again. The men backed off, muttering, but the encounter left Elena shaken. That night, in their tent by the spring, she turned to Clara, her voice raw. Is it worth it? She asked. Fighting for a place that hates us? Clara cupped Elena's face, her eyes fierce. It's worth it because we're together, she said. And because you're showing them what courage looks like. Elena kissed her, the spring's gentle rush a backdrop to their love. They'd won the water, but the bigger fight, for acceptance, for a home, was far from over. Still, with Clara's heartbeat against hers, Elena felt ready for anything. The town's gratitude grew as water flowed, but so did the tension. Some, like Mrs. Lyle, started to soften, thanking Elena quietly at the diner. Others, like Pastor Evans, doubled down, preaching against sin in sermons that drew smaller crowds each week. Elena and Clara kept working, their love a quiet rebellion against the town's lingering prejudice. One night as they walked through Willow Creek, hand in hand, a group of kids ran past, laughing unafraid. One, a girl with braids, paused and looked at them. Thanks for the water, Miss Elena, she said, then ran off. Elena's throat tightened. Clara squeezed her hand. See, Clara said. You're changing things. Maybe, Elena said, but her heart lifted. The town wasn't theirs yet, but it was starting to bend. And with Clara beside her, Elena knew they could bend it further. Months passed and Willow Creek bloomed. The fields were lush, the riverbed trickled with life, and the town's pulse steadied. Elena and Clara became fixtures at the spring, their work a lifeline for a community that was slowly, grudgingly learning to see them. But healing a town's heart was harder than finding water. One morning as Elena checked the pipeline, a letter arrived, slipped under her tent flap. It was from her mother, her first contact in 3 years. I'm proud of you, it read, and I'm sorry. Elena's hand shook as she read it, tears blurring the words. Clara wrapped her arms around her, whispering, You're not alone anymore. The letter was a crack in the wall, but not everyone was ready to change. Pastor Evans organized a town meeting, calling for a vote to remove Elena from the spring's oversight, claiming her influence was a threat. The night before the vote, Elena and Clara sat by the spring, the water's rush a steady comfort. Do you think they'll take it away? Elena asked, her voice quiet. Clara shook her head. They can try, but they won't win. You've given them too much. The meeting was packed, the air electric with tension. Pastor Evans spoke first, his words sharp, but the crowd was restless. Then Mrs. Lyle stood, her voice trembling but clear. Elena saved us, she said. I don't care who she loves. She's one of us. One by one, others spoke, farmers, shopkeepers, even Tom, who admitted gruffly that Elena had been right. When the vote came, it was overwhelming. Elena stayed. That night, the town held a festival to celebrate the water's return. Lanterns lit Main Street, music filled the air, And Elena and Clara danced unafraid, their hands entwined. The stares were fewer, the smiles warmer. It wasn't acceptance, not fully, but it was a start. As the music slowed, Elena pulled Clara close, her voice soft. "I came back for you," she said. "And I'd do it all again." Clara smiled, her eyes bright. "We're home now," she said. "Together." The spring flowed, the town thrived, and Elena and Clara built a life in the place that had once rejected them. They weren't just survivors. They were proof that love could outlast hate, that courage could reshape a town, and that even the driest hearts could learn to bloom. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.